6th. Hopefully, we're not going to see that again in 2028.
Abort. Never mind.
But yeah. In any event, thank you. And I will definitely see you soon. Oh, by the way, tomorrow Jackson's going to be here, which should be a lot of fun. We don't yet have on Friday Brett back. He's still partying in Japan, maybe get involved in the fisticuffs in the legislature. But Waz is going to be here on Friday to get rid of his garbage people of the week. So that should be a lot of fun. For now, though, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. To Jenny in the audience, happy birthday out there. And we'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Ritchie. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day. None other than our brother, Tehran Von Ghasri. Always fascinating to have his brilliance on the program. Top story of the day, State of the Union address. When you hire a clown to be president of the United States, a clown show you will get. Here it is.
We ended DEI in America. Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy. Oh boy, we're lucky we have a country. With people like this, Democrats are destroying our country, but we've stopped it just in the nick of time, didn't we? Huh? Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
I have more video, a few notes right now. DEI. He received a roaring round of applause from an audience of 99% old-ass white men who stood up to applaud the ending of DEI. What is DEI? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Understand what they are applauding. The end of what they term diversity, equity, and inclusion means to give white individuals, in particular white men, an unfair advantage while disadvantaging others in the workplace, in economics, in higher education, and the list goes on. There was a time when we all universally said diversity, equity, and inclusion is the goal. That's the model. That is your benchmark. That is your moral compass in order to target. We want to be known. We want to engage in equitable practices like being inclusive, engaging based on non-bias, not bias, to give people a fair opportunity. That's what diversity, equity, and inclusion mean. Fairness at the beginning, middle, and end of the day. So they're telling you they are opposed to your ideology of diversity. What is the ideology of diversity? America, the current state of the country, which he was supposed to be addressing in the State of the Union. We are a diverse nation. Let's compare how Trump and President Obama addressed opposing parties. Here it is.
And I commit to every Republican here tonight that I will not only seek out your ideas, I will seek to work with you to make this country stronger.
I look at the Democrats in front of me and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do.
If you share the broad vision I outlined tonight, I ask you to join me in the work at hand. If you disagree with parts of it, I hope you'll at least work with me where you do agree.
These people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
Understand, a better politics isn't one where Democrats abandon their agenda or Republicans simply embrace mine. A better politics is one where we appeal to each other's basic decency instead of our basest fears. A better politics is one where we debate without demonizing each other.
We take out the criminals, killers, traffickers, and child predators who are allowed to enter our country under the open border policy of these people, the Democrats, the Biden administration, the open border insane policies that you've allowed to destroy our country.
For all our blind spots and shortcomings, we are a people with the strength and generosity of spirit to bridge divides, to unite in common effort. We are still more than a collection of red states and blue states, that we are the United States of America.
In recent years, our justice system has been turned upside down by radical left lunatics.
What do you see? You see one man who earned his position as president of the United States by way of hope, unity, working together, moral clarity on policy issues, and decency to work with those who may disagree, because let's face it, it's not the American way, it is the human way. We are all on this journey together. Then you have another individual who has achieved a similar status, meaning being president of the United States, occupying the White House. But he gained his position by stoking fear, by illuminating differences, by articulating bigotry, by making you afraid, by putting fear in the hearts and minds of the gullible. Two very different styles, two very different points of view, two very different methodologies. Effective as they may be, one brings you to a space where you can be proud to leave a legacy to your daughter and your son, your granddaughters and your grandsons. The other legacy, however, I don't think any decent parent would wish that legacy, the legacy of Trump, MAGA, and cronies. I don't think anyone would consciously wish that kind of legacy on their own children or grandchildren. Hakeem Jeffries, leader for the Democrats, he spoke out. Here is his response.
Just came off the House floor. That State of the Union, so-called State of the Union, was a disaster. Donald Trump believes that the economy has been turned around under his leadership. The economy is a disaster, bro. People are struggling. And you didn't spend any time today providing any vision for how to actually improve the lives of the American people. That was a joke of a speech. And it will do nothing to improve your failing poll numbers. That was worse than Celebrity Apprentice. And the American people are going to strike back in November.
Yeah, let's hope so. And let's also collectively believe that this will be the last time America hires a game show host to be president of the United States. It's an utter disaster. The man has no moral clarity. Put it a full mass. Let's recap some of this, of what Trump actually said during the State of the Union. And keep that up, Jordan. And I want to make this point. For many who are saying this was not a real State of the Union, or he doesn't represent the values of the country that you believe in, or somehow this is not the true union of our state, those are damn lies. This is the State of the Union. This is our current status. This is where we are, who we are, what we are now. And the sooner we can admit that, the quicker we can get out of this mess. We are here. There is no slippery slope. We've been on the slippery slope, and we are now simply on a free fall. Until somebody realizes they have wings and can fly in this atmosphere. And that's you. To recap, Trump said, quote, "Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself, not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself," declared Trump after he regained the floor. Quote, "That is why I'm asking for you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers, all over our country. They're blocking the removal of these people out of our country. And you should be ashamed of yourself. He continues speaking over Reps Omar and Talib, who shouted at him from their seats, quote, "You killed Americans. You should be ashamed." And that is correct. They are factually right. Trump is factually incorrect for those of us who still care that he may sometimes tell the truth and lie at other times. He just lies all the time. Let's be clear, sanctuary cities actually have a lower criminal index among undocumented individuals. Why? Because those cities have a working relationship of trust with local law enforcement. That's why. And they tend to not engage in senseless arrest and deportation of individuals who are not committing any crimes, prioritizing those who actually do. We're talking about anyone, citizen, non-citizen. Let's move on. Trump also made a declaration that they should be ashamed of themselves because they're protecting these sanctuary cities. And they are the reason why these killers, as he says, are able to kill. The killers are your agency known as ICE, Trump. It's unfortunate that you continue to engage in the protection of the few that serve your agenda while the protection of the masses is what you were elected for. There's more. Earlier, Representative Al Green was escorted out of the chamber after holding up a sign as President Donald Trump entered and began his speech, prompting multiple Republican lawmakers to confront him and attempt to remove the sign. As Trump entered the chamber and started his speech, Green stood up, held up a sign reading, quote, "Black people aren't apes." Sounds like a statement of fact to me. Why would that be offensive to somebody? Why would you need to remove a sign that makes a statement of fact? Black people are not apes. That is truth. But contextualized through the presidency and racism of Donald Trump and his cronies, it becomes a political statement because of their racism, not because of Representative Green, but because of them. House Majority Leader moved in and pulled the sign down, but Green was able to regain a hold of the pullout sign and held it up again after returning to his seat. Senator Mullen, Republican out of Oklahoma, approached Green and attempted to take the sign from him, which triggered a heated verbal altercation. Then Mullen and another senator, Senator Marshall, Republican out of Kansas, positioned themselves between Green and Trump, partially blocking Trump's line of sight as Green remained standing. Green was ultimately escorted out of the chamber by a House Sergeant at Arms staffer. As he exited, he paused inside the chamber and held the sign toward Representative Nels. This is out of Texas, Republican, who reached for the sign in an apparent attempt to remove it before Green was led out. I am sure depriving of property is still illegal. Illegally depriving somebody of their personal property, regardless of the political context, is not acceptable. As a member of Congress, you don't disenfranchise one man or one woman. You attempt to disenfranchise, or they are attempting to disenfranchise the group they represent, the 300, 400,000 individuals that are in their districts. There's more. House Speaker Mike Johnson told Newsmax that he could have ejected several Democrats during President Donald Trump's State of the Union address, but ultimately decided not to, so their shameful display could be witnessed by the American people. Isn't it ironic? Keep his picture up. He's pointing to Democratic lawmakers saying that they are out of line, while the guy he's standing up for and carries the water for and bends over in places where the spine does not allow for, his guy is totally deranged. But he stands up and applauds. Meanwhile, CBS News raved about President Donald Trump's State of the Union address Tuesday night. One of the spokespeople Dukapu, calling it, quote, extraordinary. Quote, the first State of the Union address of Donald Trump's second term is in the books. It was an extraordinary speech, the longest to a joint session in history, the longest State of the Union in history. In some ways, vintage Trump, combative, populist, historic for other reasons as well. Yeah, the fact it was horrible, this racist, despicable, bogus, bigoted, non-coherent, not understandable, disrespectful. It should be no surprise considering Paramount CEO David Ellison, which now owns CBS News, obviously, was at the State of the Union as a guest of Lindsey Graham. Okay, that's why they're doing it. I get it. The check must have cleared. Shame. And this is why it's important to engage in information and resources that are independently sourced, like Indisputable, like the Damage Report, like the Main Show, like the Young Turks, and other spaces outside of this. You don't have to get all your news here. But you damn sure can't listen to these guys in mainstream media anymore. They are telling you out front who they are, what they are, and how they are willing to lie to you. All right, dear brother, thoughts here.
Let me just say, Dr. Ritchie, that watching this State of the Union was a mockery of the presidency, of the office of the president, of the understanding of what the United States is, and ultimately of the United States itself. I was ashamed, and we should all be ashamed. We should all be ashamed that entire groups of representatives did not feel like they should stand up for the president of the United States. We should all be ashamed because no citizen or resident of the United States should ever feel so unrepresented as we do now. To be proud of ending DEI, which, by the way, I wasn't even a fan of myself because of how it was worded. To be proud of ending DEI was not because they had a replacement plan or they had an idea of how to make it more diverse, more equitable, more inclusive. No, it was to remove it completely. Because to the privileged, equality will always feel like oppression. When he said these people, he meant every single minority that you could think of as a lump sum of a whole. Anyone that has ever felt othered, he meant you. Anytime you felt small or dismissed, he meant you. He's saying these people do not count. These people are lunatics. And this goes beyond racism, placism, classism, socioeconomic, everything you can think of. This was a cry for a war that's not overseas, but right here at home. When they said these people are the ones protecting the child predators, homie, you are the child predator. Show me that Epstein file, all the things you didn't release. Show me those things, okay? Allegedly. When we had all that DEI talk, they didn't remove DEI, they changed the acronym. The acronyms now stand for division, evilness, and incitement, because that's what this was about. Where was the unity? In the United States of America, the key word united, where was the unity? Honestly, he was one John Davidson outburst from saying the N word and the B word to the rest of the crowd. One Tourette's outburst away from saying it. Yeah. And we all are sitting here watching, and that is what's happening.
Yeah.
Justice and liberty for all.
Insanity continues. We'll bring you updates if there's any additional update to bring about the insanity of the State of the Union address. All right, well, Department of Justice hiding files related to Donald Trump sexually abusing a minor according to the latest information. Here it is.
We have a survivor that made serious allegations against the president. Clearly, the FBI participated in some interviews and discussions with this survivor. When looking at the DOJ documents, there is a manifest or a list of documents and interviews that this survivor participated in and that should be made available to the Congress as part of the document file search. But there's a series of documents and it would appears to be possible interviews that the FBI conducted with the survivor that are actually missing, that we don't have access to. And to remind the public, we're viewing unredacted documents that the DOJ has in their possession. I'm very aware of the survivor, and why these documents are missing is a critical question right now for the DOJ.
We got more information. Put it up full mass. The cover-up continues. It gets even deeper. The FBI is withholding and even removing Epstein documents that implicate Trump, including an interview with a minor who alleges Trump sexually abused her when she was 13. An updated report says between the ages of 13 and 15, dozens of FBI witness interviews from the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein appear to be missing from the massive trove of files released by the Department of Justice last month, according to a CNN review, including 3 interviews related to a woman who accused Donald Trump of sexually assaulting her decades ago. The FBI took the allegations against the president so seriously that it reportedly sent agents to interview his accuser a total of 4 times in 2019. However, only documents regarding the first interview have ever been released. Independent journalist Roger Sollenberger revealed this month. NPR now reports that the missing documents from the next 3 interviews includes what appears to be more than 50 pages of documents detailing FBI sit-downs with the accuser, who said she was around 13 when she was abused by the men, which included Donald Trump, in the early 1980s. Let's pause for just a moment. Because if the allegation is true, which by all evidence it seems to be, the FBI, the Department of Justice, and other individuals who serve in that White House engaged in a massive cover-up scheme to shield one person, Donald J. Trump, when an actual victim had provided information, incriminating information, that creates a probable cause of criminal action, which can warrant an investigation of the statement or accusation. None of this happened even though the individual was interviewed multiple times. Now let's go back to what Pam Bondi said, in which representative called her out on it and said, ma'am, I think you just committed perjury. She said there is no evidence, none, no evidence that would implicate Donald Trump in a crime. You got evidence right here. This is evidence. Evidence has to be weighed in court. So while evidence may not be judicial evidence yet, it is in fact evidence before the judiciary process. So yes, I concur with the representative. It sounds like, yeah, perjury, lying on oath. There's more. Other files scrubbed from public view pertain to a separate woman who was a key witness for the prosecution in the criminal trial of Epstein's co-conspirator, that is Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year prison sentence for sex trafficking, and because of Donald Trump, is in a low security, minimum security prison, and happens to be the only person with that kind of conviction in such a low security system. There's more. Several Epstein victims, survivors, have said that they've scoured the DOJ's website in recent weeks for files documenting their own interviews with the FBI because they did provide information, evidence, only to come up empty-handed. Quote, all of us have been looking for our victim statements. Jess Michaels, who was assaulted by Epstein when she was just 22 years old, told CNN after the file release. Heavily redacted and missing interview reports suggest that, quote, this Department of Justice is actually gaslighting the entire country. She argued, understand what's being implicated. The people who are victims are still alive. The people who are the survivors are still here. Actively, in real time, the powers that be are lying about what happened to the individuals who sat down and interviewed with them face to face. But we still have the victims. We still have the survivors. They are still telling their story. What they said to the investigators, they are saying to the world. This is what happened. This is how it happened. This is who did it. The fact that the individuals they named during those interviews have not been investigated is enough to tell you the fix is in. The people that they are telling you were named in their own interview. They were named, are not part of the release, and their eyewitness testimony, not part of the evidence or the evidentiary chain, tells you the fix is in. But it also tells you something else. You forced their hands. You forced their hands. They didn't want to give you all this information. Don't give up, don't let up, and do not allow them to make you believe that these individuals are too powerful to be held accountable or that your power is lessened because of their power. Bull. You hold all the cards. You do. Just know you do. There's more. Put it up. Representative Robert Garcia put out a statement, quote, yesterday, I reviewed unredacted evidence at the Department of Justice. Oversight Democrats can confirm that the DOJ, Department of Justice, appears to have illegally held FBI interviews with this survivor who accused President Trump of heinous crimes. Oversight Democrats will panel a parallel investigation into this. And while the Supreme Court may shield Donald Trump from criminal prosecution through their recent ruling, it doesn't shield his cabinet, and it doesn't shield him from impeachment, nor those he has appointed to high-ranking cabinet positions. When asked for a comment about the missing pages, White House spokeswoman lies and deflects. Quote, this is the official statement. Quote, just as President Trump has said, he's been totally exonerated of anything relating to Epstein. White House spokeswoman Abigail Jackson told NPR in a statement, quote, and by releasing thousands of pages of documents cooperating with the House Oversight Committee subpoena request, signing the Epstein Files Transparency Act, and calling for more investigations into Epstein's Democrat friends, President Trump has done more for Epstein's victims than anyone before him. Meanwhile, Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries and Stacey Plaskett have yet to explain why they were soliciting money and meetings from Epstein after he was a convicted sex offender. End quote. Sir, you were on the island, sir. You were in the airplane with him. He was your buddy. And to clear up the whole Hakeem Jeffries thing, he never solicited money from Epstein. It was a third-party company they hired to do fundraising. When they realized some of the money came from Epstein to that third-party company, they did the right thing and remedied the matter. Real simple. Smoke and mirror. There's more. The excuse, a Justice Department spokesperson said the file that listed all FBI interviews with the victim was temporarily removed in order to do, victim redactions. Yes, that's the reason, victim redactions. And then we put it back online on Thursday. Spokesperson or the spokeswoman said the department has not deleted any of the files. And all documents responsive to the law have been produced unless they fall within the category that justifies being withheld. So they admitted they haven't deleted any of the files. By the way, that would be against the law. So I'm very happy that you all are not deleting any of the files, but the way you answered it leads me to believe that somebody at that department is deleting other files, because you typically don't lead with wanting to be praised for not doing something illegal. There's more. Epstein survivor, Donnie Binsky, spoke before the State of the Union calling out the DOJ. Here it is.
As we prepare to attend the State of the Union, survivors and this country have so many questions that need to be answered. The first one is, where are the rest of the files? The truth must come out. Why are there no investigations when there are plenty of people in these files to investigate? Have we read them? Why is the FBI director out there partying like a college kid when he should be investigating the vast criminal enterprise? This administration needs to do better. How can anybody feel safe in this country when our president's sympathies are going to the former Prince Andrew and not to survivors?
There you have it. It's not complicated. It's a cover-up. Probably the most massive cover-up in the history of, well, humanity and politics. All right, dear brother, thoughts? Exactly.
I would like to point out that Chris Hansen would have already solved this. Chris Hansen,
Right.
to catch a predator, it would have already been done. I actually need Dr. Ritchie back up on the screen for this because I have questions for you, Dr. Ritchie.
Okay.
You are much more intelligent and much more aware of all these situations.
Nah, I doubt
Why are we still talking about the Epstein files? Please explain this to me. How is this not an open and shut case? We put the man on trial. We have the assistant. We have all the emails. The facts are there. It's there. This is the crime with the video and the fingerprints and everything, and yet we are still talking about this. This is a massive cover-up. And Dr. Ritchie, you pointed out, it's the biggest cover-up in all of humanity and all of politics. But there are no politics or humanity involved. This is inhumane. This is outside of politics. This goes be above and beyond. I'll tell you personally, if someone commits a crime where they murder someone because they owe them money, I think that's a crime. But I also think, I can understand that. I can understand why that happened, but it's a crime. They deserve life. This is under the jail crime. I can't even comprehend the levels of this. I can't even begin. This is immoral. This is unethical. This is all the words that you learn that are not good. Anything that's good, this is the exact opposite. And yet, here we are still trying to figure it out. It's already been figured out.
It really has.
Right now is figuring us out, Dr. Ritchie.
That's right. That's right. It becomes more about your state of being than about the politics and the business CEOs and the multi-billionaires who are involved. It becomes about you. Because here's why. You just brought up a guy, dear brother, who had a show based on catching child predators, right? Now, what evidence was utilized to arrest these individuals? Text messages. Typically, text messages. Just a few back and forth. And once they concluded in the text messages, sometimes these text messages, maybe 5, 10, 15 text messages, but it's the content inside of the text. Once they concluded this individual was there to do something illegal, not that they did it, but they were there to do it. Police were waiting on the outside to arrest them, and they were able to get prosecutions done legitimately. You have way more evidence against these folks, way more evidence, and you still can't get an investigation, much less an arrest. Stop playing these damn games. Gaslighting is all they're doing. So understand, in the local context, your DA of whatever county you may serve as a citizen or a non-citizen in, that DA in that county can prosecute these cases with their eyes closed, okay? All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
Hey everyone, Matteo Scarapo here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power. But he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you. Be well. Happy 2021.
Here's the inside scoop on diners in LA. You want good pastrami sandwich, you go to Factors. You want to see some people in the business, you go to Nate and Al's. You want the best variety? My secret spot's the Nosh. Now here's the inside scoop on politics and news. You go watch the Young Turks live every day at 6 o'clock Eastern.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. We got a lot of comments. Let me read as many as I can. Very thankful for you. Neon Gremlin Dragon, it feels wrong calling him a clown. Clowns have dignity and serve a purpose. That is correct. I apologize to all of the professional and non-professional clowns in the world. You deserve far better than that. Enter the Dragon, over 9,000 enter the Dragon. I bet if he said he was resigning, he'd have gotten a standing ovation lasting longer than his stupid bloviating. That's right. If you want to stand an ovation, especially from those women, sir, just say that was your last day. Yeah, guarantee you. Purple Rain Dragon, he's so desperate for applause, attention, and accolades. That's right. He's completely disregarded accountability. They should be ashamed for not standing and applauding, question mark. He is insufferable. And believe me, the people that are standing, they don't like him. Okay, but he's their proxy to power. And so their real political ideology had nothing to do with party. It had everything to do with power. And because Trump represents a proxy to power, they will continue to play the game as they have been playing since day one anyway, okay? In other words, if they'll sell out to corporations, why wouldn't they sell out to Trump? That's why you elect people with integrity. Okay, Savi_Dragon, Doc, nowadays, all we're seeing are these celebrities being put on pedestals to run for government. Currently, most people want to see theatrics in government because in reality that work is boring and should be. It should be left to experts in their respective fields, high qualified experts. Over 9,000 into the Dragon says, perjury impossible, Doc. The Dow was over 50,000. That's right. It's one more, two more. DB Hawks, thank you for that. Only saw the incident of Al Green leaving. Hashtag MAGA with a Z. And I think this is Christina Elisa Brown. Thank you for that. Happy hump day. Love you, Doc, and chat and staff. And we love you back. We appreciate you. Okay. Department of Homeland Security. We now have the information. Covered up another murder for an entire year. Put it at full mass. We said on Indisputable that the killings we have referenced are the ones we know about. And there may be others that we don't know about yet. Here is one of them. There's a secret third ICE killing that the Department of Homeland Security has been hiding from us for a year. This is 23-year-old Ruben Ray Martinez. who was shot and killed by federal agents in March of 2025. Ruben Ray Martinez was shot by an ICE Homeland Security investigations officer in South Padre Island, Texas. This happened March 15th, 2025, after what ICE described as a failure to follow law enforcement instructions during a traffic incident as agents worked with local police on immigration enforcement. While this young man's death was reported in local media at the time, the reports did not identify the involvement of Homeland Security or disclose that a federal agent fired the shots through the driver's side window. When asked about Mr. Martinez's killing, the Department of Homeland Security described the shooting as an act of self-defense, saying the agent had, quote, fired defensive shots to protect himself, his fellow agents, and the general public after the driver ran over a Homeland Security investigation special agent. Rachel Reyes said she first learned that her son had been shot by a federal agent rather than a police officer or a local cop about a week after he was killed. She was contacted by an investigator from the Rangers who she said told her there were videos of the shooting that contradicted the account provided by federal agents. Let's back up. That sounds very similar to what has happened every time there's a shooting, a narrative, and a video. The narrative contradicts what the video showed. But we could have known the trajectory of ICE and their lawlessness a year ago if local media would have followed up on the story or reported the facts as the facts are. But they left this part out. They left it out, okay? So the Department of Homeland Security, they spin a narrative, as they have done with others, that the individual was engaged in A, B, and C, and we had to utilize lethal force. Well, they said that about Mr. Preddy, a VA nurse who posed no threat. Renee Good, an individual trying to get away from a lawless person, posed no threat. Dead. And now we have one a year prior that follows the same MO as the ones recently from the same damn department. The key witness, Ruben's lifelong friend, has died. The only passenger in the car when an American citizen was shot and killed by a federal officer in South Texas last year had planned to speak up to contradict the government's account of the shooting. However, that individual, Joshua Orta, died in what they are calling an unrelated car crash over the weekend. The passenger, Joshua Orta, has been referred to as a critical eyewitness by an attorney for Martinez's mother. Orta provided a witness statement to attorneys in September, 6 months after Martinez was fatally shot on South Padre Island. In the statement obtained by CBS News, Mr. Orta asserted that the pair were returning to where they were staying when they came upon the scene of an accident. Orta's account of what happened: an officer approached the car, Orta said, and, quote, told us to turn around and leave without issuing a citation or warning, end quote. Despite Orta saying there was an open container next to Martinez, end quote. Quote, as we inched forward in traffic to get turned around, another officer, a state trooper, walked up to our car and slapped the hood, end quote. Orta's statement reads, quote, I later learned that the trooper's report said that Ruben had hit the officer. That's not true, end quote. Orta stated stated the trooper, quote, wasn't moving out of the way when we tried to turn around and leave. After which, other law enforcement approached the car and started yelling at us to stop. Quote, I even saw them draw their guns, or the statement reads. This was crazy to me because we were only crawling. Like the car was in gear, but just coasting. Ruben never hit the gas. The troopers were never in danger from Ruben. So what scene is he painting? He's saying that a trooper went up to the car and hit the car and utilized that false pretense as the prerequisite in order to engage in what ended up being a deadly crisis. That sounds like corruption, right? Abuse of power, filing a false police report, violation of oath of office. There's more. At some point, a Homeland Security investigations officer who order asserted, quote, was in no danger from the car, then fired multiple times at Ruben from no more than 2 feet away, the statement read. Order claimed the officer did so without providing a warning or command. I heard Ruben say, quote, I'm sorry. And then he slumped backward. Order reported before also claiming law enforcement pulled his friend's body from the car and handcuffed him, even though he was clearly unconscious or already dead, end quote. Martinez's loved ones say they are still waiting for accountability 11 months after his death. The family's attorney said they were pushing for an investigation into, quote, why a federal officer shot and killed a U.S. citizen as he was trying to comply with instructions from the local law enforcement officers directing traffic, end quote. Quote, it is critical that there is a full and fair investigation into why HSI was present at the scene of a traffic collision and why a federal officer shot and killed a U.S. citizen as he was trying to comply with instructions from the local law enforcement officers directing traffic. Attorneys Charles M. Stam and Alex Stam said in a statement to the attorneys, I know your job has become even more difficult because your key witness, and I will say it under very mysterious timing circumstances, died over the weekend in what they're calling an unrelated crash. But you still have power here. You still have an opportunity because there were other eyewitnesses, the officer. And those officers that engaged in that scenario, you never know. One of them may have had a change of heart since that day. One of them may be willing to give you a proper statement, an affidavit of the fact. Or if you depose them as witnesses, they may not be willing to risk their own freedom and lie for the ICE agent who did what none of them thought was necessary because none of the other cops fired a bullet. Please do that for this young man. It is clear from the tragic story that ICE agents lack training. They lack care. They lack basic humanness in the execution of their duty, many of them, most of them, in some cases. An ICE whistleblower has officially confirmed this. ICE has been graduating cadets who are not qualified to be cadets whatsoever. Here it is.
I am here because I am duty-bound to report the legally required training program at the ICE Academy is deficient, defective, and broken. 5 months ago, I was asked to teach the law to new cadets at the ICE Academy in Glencoe, Georgia, where ICE is training its new, inexperienced recruits. On my first day, I received secretive orders to teach new cadets to violate the Constitution by entering homes without a judicial warrant. For the last 5 months, I watched ICE dismantle the training program, cutting 240 hours of vital classes from a 584-hour program. Classes that teach the Constitution, our legal system, firearms training, the use of force, lawful arrests, proper detention, and the limits of officers' authority.
Trump said he loves the uneducated. Put it up. The man who has become a whistleblower is a hero amongst us. He resigned from his job because they were actively restricting him from testifying to the truth. So instead of just going along to get along, instead of saying, I don't agree with it, but what can I do? He resigned from that job. Keep his picture up. Because ain't no damn job worth trading your soul for. Ever. His name is Ryan Schwank. Ryan has worked with ICE since 2021 as the assistant chief counsel. He resigned last week so that you can know the truth. Thank you, dear brother. Thank you. All right. Thoughts?
Immigrants are not target practice.
That's right.
I'm sending this to ICE. I'm saying this to the people of the United States. Representative Al Green has shown me the way. First and foremost, of course, my condolences to the Orta family and the Rodriguez family. Of course, Mr. Orta murdered and Mr. Rodriguez died in a car crash. That means two people who were involved in this, young people, were mysteriously dead by mysterious circumstances that are unlikely. I don't know if I believe in coincidences, Dr. Rich, especially not in regards, and I definitely don't believe in coincidences when it comes to the government of the United States of America. We've seen it one too many times often. In fact, to Mr. Ryan Schwank, I hope you have Geico and life insurance because there might be a car accident in your future as well. Be very careful. The statement that the whistleblower has become the hero, the fact that that is more true now than ever is a part of that shame that we should feel towards the United States government. Why is our government covering up? Why are we having people who are not trained to handle situations, handling situations? This is murder. By the way, we've seen cover-ups like this before. In The Godfather, remember at the end when Michael Corleone needed to get rid of everybody and had everybody executed basically while he was innocent at the baptism of his sister's child, who, by the way, he also killed his sister's husband. That's what we're watching in real time. We're watching this in real time. We're watching a mafia regime in real time. The United States of America is becoming that. Be very mindful.
And maybe the romanticizing of these things has somehow in some way desensitized the collective to when it happens in reality. But the reason we provide light is because information, truth, understanding, and context is the greatest disinfectant to corruption and a culture of lies. I'll put up Mr. Schwank again. We need more people like him in this world, and we actually have them. Who are they? Those who watch this show in order to make a difference in the world. You empower the great collective to overcome this battle, and because of you, we will win. We always have. All right. We got more on the other side. Indisputable stick and stay.
Hey everyone, Mateo Scarapore here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you. Be well. Happy 2021.
Here's the inside scoop on diners in LA. You want good pastrami sandwich, you go to Factors. You want to see some people in the business, you go to Nate and Al's. You want the best variety? My secret spot's the Nosh. Now here's the inside scoop on politics and news. You go watch the Young Turks live every day at 6 o'clock Eastern.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. Once again, thank you for all of the comments in advance. All right, we got a few that I will read for the sake of time. Neon Gremlin Dragon says, no law enforcement of any variety has ever performed a fair and thorough self-investigation. So long as they have qualified immunity and inherently problematic union, they never will. That's right. And Cotton Club conversation. They don't want them to know what they don't know because that will be their defense. Think like a thug. Yep. RJL Network, the corruption is strong in this one. And yeah, Fascist Killer says, doctor, that's a prerequisite for an authoritarian to love. They're following him. And Rock Monster Dragon. I think they needed the gun safety training since they keep shooting themselves. And Neon Death 07, not officers then, hired goons now. Yep. And Neon Death 07 says humans don't exist for target practice. That's correct. All right, lighten the mood a bit. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off! I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
And we are standing up for what we think is right now.
Barbara,
I mean it.
you're playing into her hands. Let me speak to him, okay?
In the name of God, how much more are we supposed to take?
Take from what?
From you people.
I mean, you people. You sound like I'm a dog or something.
As we forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Don't you think you're overdoing it?
No, because we need our rights. They want all the rights. So they're not going to give it.
And they don't have enough gumption to turn around and tell that Supreme Court to rule on the laws of the land rather than mess with our children and ruin our education and put our country down.
You kidding me?
Now, there were appointed officials, and we'll impeach every one of them if we have to get this country back where it belongs.
Man, by the time somebody do something, now, all of a sudden, the tide is turning a little bit. You see how things feel now. You all come upset, huh? You're all upset. Say somebody taking your rights away.
What did you just see? You saw white Christian evangelicals singing to the Lord and opposing black children. This was about school integration. school integration. I wanted to remind you that the Karens of old had vigor, and the bigots of old had anger. But even with all of that and a system that was designed to benefit them, they lost those battles. They lost those battles. We have to enhance the victory that those light workers, we're talking about Black folk and their allies, that the light workers were able to secure. But I wanted to remind everyone, everything they said, none of it was executed by them. Now, did racism take on different formations? And did bigotry still permeate in the institutional dynamics of structured systems? Yes, that's part of the continual and perpetual fight. But it shows that light has significant power. Those individuals had significant hate. We have significant love. There is no force greater in this universe than love, even if that love is tough love sometimes. All right, dear brother, thoughts?
Do they go to a class for that voice? Like, is that what they learn? Like, I'm not afraid of, like, that voice, it opened and awakened something inside of me that's so visceral. Like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, Did she want to call for the manager of racism? Who's that? Her father? Right. My thing is the idea that it's still so relevant today, and more importantly, the fact that these people are still around today, they just do it in different ways. They point, we want freedom from DEI or whatever it is. That's the same group of people. And I want to remind you, because when we look around, remember those hoses that were on Martin Luther King and his whole group? What happened to those people? We try to erase them from history as if they didn't have children and their children became the people that are saying the same things in different ways. And they had children as well. It becomes generational. That's what we're looking at. So it's important to see this from the old to know where it might go in the new. That's why we look on history so much, because it's that story that needs to be told.
Very well said. Very well said. All right. Well, an inmate, an incarcerated human being, a person, died after being beaten by prison guards. Put it up full mass. The story is going to make your blood boil. A DC man was beaten so severely by prison guards that it led to his death. Now the prison refuses to release any details on his death and says he experienced a natural cause of death. We have contrary information. I'm taking you to Mr. Rakia Carter. Ms. Rakia Carter said friends, families of other inmates at the U.S. Penitentiary, Lee in Virginia, warned them that guards were, in fact, severely beating her brother. Her brother is Malik Carter. So there's a warning. Quote, they shared a deeply disturbing account of what my brother may have endured while in custody. Rakia Carter said of her brother, these accounts include reports of prolonged physical abuse, the use of extreme restraints, denial of medical care despite visible injuries, isolation and solitary confinement, and even shutting off basic necessities like water. Their mother, Miss Arlisa Carter, said calls to the prison led to few answers. The family said they were notified of his death on the 11th of February. In a statement, the Bureau of Prisons said in part that, quote, for safety and security and privacy reasons, it will not, quote, share specifics regarding the cause of death for any inmate, end quote. Now, our dear brother and friend, Attorney Malik Shabazz, we've had him on the program multiple times. He's a great civil rights attorney. Attorney Malik Shabazz said Malik Carter's body was also illegally embalmed. Well, that's a great way to hide evidence. Was illegally embalmed. He said the circumstances around the death are suspicious. The family is awaiting autopsy results. He was supposed to be, which was supposed to be released, or will be released. He was due to be released this year. So he was actually about to come out of that facility, which also means he could have told the world about the atrocities that allegedly happened to him. He could have self-articulated these rather than having other people who have a heart, like individuals incarcerated with him, having to tell the story to the family and others. Carter was convicted of a robbery-related offense back in 2018, and was set to be released in 2026. Malik's mother and sister said during a press conference. Here's a video.
Good afternoon. My name is Alisa Carter. For 3.5 weeks before my son's death, I called, I asked questions, I requested welfare checks. I expressed my concern about his safety and his condition. I was dismissed. Each time I reached out, I was left without answers. I was left with silence. I was left incurring a mother instinct that something was wrong, and no one took that instinct seriously. And now I'm standing here asking how a person under full government supervision ends up found unresponsive.
My name is Rakia Carter. It was not until my mother escalated the situation and contacted federal authorities that we finally received a response. And the very next day, we were told my brother was dead. Families should have to learn about their loved ones suffering from strangers instead of the institution responsible for the care. My brother was alone. He was isolated, and our family was kept in the dark. We're still waiting on official reports, autopsy reports, medical records, who was on duty at the time that, my brother passed, and just clear timelines. We are still waiting to know when his body has been released, but it took a week, and during that time in the week, they didn't give us any updates. We were just left unanswered for a whole week, grieving, trying to process this loss that they said was a natural cause of death.
And according to Attorney Shabazz, they illegally embalmed the body while ignoring the family's request to have access to it. Okay? Put up the U.S. Penitentiary, Lee, in Virginia, full mask. It is notorious, by the way, for its brutal treatment of the incarcerated. Numerous lawsuits examined by the Marshall Project and NPR allege that officers smashed individuals' faces into concrete walls, broke their teeth, ground their feet and legs with steel-toed boots, kicked and groped their testicles, and cut off their dreadlocks and ripped off their beards. One man now requires the use of a wheelchair as a result of abuse at Lee Penitentiary, according to a lawsuit. Indisputable is escalating this as well, for the sake of the family and for the sake of justice for the individual who's no longer here. Answers should be forthcoming. So we are escalating this directly to Senator John Ossoff because of his effective work at investigating prisons, and especially his effective work at holding hearings, getting information under oath in relation to the civil rights violations that happen inside of prison. He happens to be one of the few U.S. senators who gives a damn. And that will be this story's next stop. All right, dear brother, thoughts?
We have seen a culture of cover-up on today's show. We started with the Epstein files, then we went to immigration, and now this. This is indicative of what is to come. Now, why is Malik Carter, who, by the way, my condolences to his family, sister, loved ones, mother, we saw them speak. Why is this important for you and I? Because this is how it starts. Push the envelope, and see how far it goes before it falls off and none of us notice. We could be Malik Carter. We could be Mr. Orta. We could be any of these people. We could have been one of the people in the Epstein files who testified, and yet nothing's getting done. This is a culture of cover-up. It's now gone from a blue wall to just a wall. What happened to transparency and accountability when it comes to government? I don't know the circumstances of Mr. Carter's death, but that's the problem. Why don't I know the circumstances of Mr. Carter's death? Why, with all that videotape that they have in prisons, have video not been released? Because I guarantee you, if there was a riot or if Mr. Carter had committed a murder, we would have done that. I don't know why the prison embalmed Mr. Carter so quickly. Was he Orthodox Jewish? Was he Muslim? Was he Baha'i? All faiths that prohibit embalming? We don't know. What I'm saying is the fact that we don't know is the problem. And we need to be more cognizant of this, because next time it could be you.
Well, say to somebody that you love, or somebody that you love. All right, we're going to stay on top of this and bring you updates as they develop. We have an indisputable exclusive. School poorly, maybe even negligent in how they handled a bullying situation on a black student. Put it a full mask. In an exclusive, Zani Ada Molekum, a mother in Delaware, was horrified when her daughter, picture here, blurred the face for obvious reasons, was assaulted at school by a fellow student. The school in question is Polytech High School. This is in Woodside, Delaware. She's now calling out the school for how they handled the attack and the aftermath, which ultimately led to her daughter having to enroll into another school. I'm going to give you the details. So the mother made the following allegations, quote, on the morning of Wednesday, February 28th, 2024, my daughter, who was a 10th grade student, was in carpentry class at Polytech High School. A student who had just cut a large sheet of plywood, approximately 2x4, decided to weaponize it when he jolted it into my daughter's face. As a result, she endured facial trauma, experiencing severe nose bleeding and intense pain. She managed to walk herself to the school nurse as blood flowed profusely from her mouth and nose throughout the hallway. Quote, I received a call from the school nurse who stated there had been an accident at the carpentry class where my daughter had been hit with a board. The nurse stated how strong my daughter was to have endured such an injury because she managed to walk down to the nurse and to have splinters from her gums and chin. I had conversation with my daughter regarding this incident on Thursday, 29th of February, 2024. It was then that I discovered that it was no accident. End quote. She told me that the male student who'd hit her had been bragging to his friends since the incident. He said to some other students that she effed around and found out, end quote. He also told other students that her singing was annoying and that she was annoying. He expressed sentiments calling her unattractive and a monkey. I immediately went into the school and notified one of the principals, who took a written account of facts from my daughter. She initially expressed skepticism of my daughter's side of the story. But on 3/1 and a second behavior principal contacted me for information, or informed me, that he had spoken with my daughter, the student who hit her, and other student witnesses. He said other students verified my daughter's account of the story. He said the young man lied about what happened initially. The second behavioral principal said that the school will impose disciplinary action that he could not share with me because of privacy, but I could reference that school's website. I could reference the school's website for the disciplinary code. He also stated that he understood that I wanted to press charges and that he'd have an officer call me. The officer did call shortly thereafter, but seemingly trying to dissuade me from pressing charges, but I insisted. So let's put it up full mask. Subsequently, on 3/1, the young man was arrested per the police report, charged with third-degree assault. That's your police report there. The mother also provided us with court records that ordered that the suspect was not to make any contact with the victim and that the school avoid scheduling the suspect in the same class as the victim. The mother claims that the young man was initially removed from the classroom for 3 days. The mother said then, according to the school's principal, the school's attorney gave the clearance to put him back in the classroom. And based on our reading of the order from the judge, based on my production team and me, it seems as if there was ambiguity in the judicial order that may have allowed for such an insane thing to take place. If somebody has just brutally assaulted your daughter, you definitely don't want them in the same classroom. There's a no contact order. There's more. Quote, to date, my daughter is still suffering from the aftermath and negative effects of this incident. She had to switch schools her senior year due to constant taunting from staff and from students. I was truly appalled that the school nor the justice system held this young man and his parents accountable for his actions. Ironically, months later, there was an incident where it was falsely reported that my daughter has stolen a bicycle. Twice we reached out to Polytech High School from Indisputable requesting a statement in response to these allegations, and they chose not to respond at all. All right? Your brother, thoughts?
Well, here's the thing. I don't know how annoying her singing and her commenting was, but I do know how racist the term monkey is. And that's where the problem lies, right? So once we went beyond annoying singing, annoying dancing, annoying this and that to monkey, that's when the school should have escalated it. How do I know? Because even in the law of the land today, we have certain criteria that takes a crime to a hate crime. And that is what has occurred here. There was a hate crime element, a factor that needs to be considered and how the school handles this situation. There should never be a time where a young girl needs to change schools to get away from bullies. What is this, 1984? Actually, looking at the world we are looking at, maybe it is 1984. Not just the year, but the Orwellian book. That's what I'm saying. We're in a situation where people just do not care. And now we're at cover-up number 4.
Yeah.
A culture of cover-up is coming.
That's right. All right. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Hey everyone, Mateo Scarapore here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now, but it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Here's the inside scoop on diners in LA. You want good pastrami sandwich, you go to Factors. You want to see some people in the business, you go to Nate and Al's. You want the best variety? My secret spot's the Nosh. Now here's the inside scoop on politics and news. You go watch the Young Turks live every day at 6 o'clock Eastern.
All right, what's happening? Welcome back. Don't forget, Tehran is always available to you, providing the funny every Thursday at the Laugh Factory. We always appreciate his time and commentary at Indisputable. Very smart brother. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen.
So we have a tuition-free private school for young black men from grades 6th through 12th grade. Boys are able to come here and enjoy a beautiful atmosphere surrounded by nature, surrounded by love and care, as well as upliftment, an environment that helps them to discover their purpose. So throughout the day, they're able to study, all of their different academic subjects, as well as vocational skills. They're able to learn agriculture through raising animals and growing food. They're able to participate in service. We take our students out on service projects every Friday where they do different projects like feeding the homeless or mentoring other students or cultivating land and many other types of service.
I have the innovator behind such a remarkable program that I've had the great opportunity to engage with myself. My dear friend, Mr. Atiba Jones, is on the show. Dear brother, good to have you, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Great to be here.
I want to highlight, first of all, the kind of institution this is. It is a tuition-free institution. We're going to get into that. Jordan, if you could, put up the promo flyer for the school, full mass. And then we're going to get into how Mr. Jones has been able to do this. Mr. Jones is the founder and executive director of the SAVE Institute. He's from West Philly, born and raised, and a graduate of Morehouse College. He spent 21 years in education, youth development, and mental health counseling before being the founder of SAVE Institute. This was October 2019. They have a middle school and a high school program, innovative alternative to traditional school subject opportunities, allow students to learn academics through projects, life experiences, agriculture, vocational training. And they are geniuses, man. These are some smart students. And so I had the great opportunity of being one of your keynote speakers at the annual event that you do. And I was so blown away, man, by the cultural interaction, by the, you had one of the students host the whole thing. A student was the MC and did a remarkable job, man. So tell us about, we got to highlight the positive. So much negative. We got to highlight this because you come from a tradition of black leadership. You come from a tradition of black male scholarship, Morehouse College, and you founded this institution in order to keep that legacy alive.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what was really interesting is that, while I was at Morehouse, especially my first 2 years there, what I realized was happening back home was that many of the young men the same age from my neighborhood, even within my own family, were experiencing a much different circumstance, right? So I was seeing so many of my, friends going to prison, going to, getting murdered in the streets, things like that. And it was around that time where I decided that I needed to dedicate my life to youth development. And really, that's all I've been doing ever since.
That's how it started. So I know, man, the elephant in the room is this. How in the world do you maintain an institution like this with that kind of property, that kind of engagement in agriculture and farming? You have teachers that are qualified and certified to teach. How do you do this tuition free?
Well, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's a struggle. But it's worth the struggle because, we have so many young men from all over the country. We have a boarding school, so boarding programs. We have young men coming to us from cities all over the country. And it's just such a huge demand. And what we've seen is that, tuition creates a barrier to those who need it the most. So we really just kind of took that leap and have been fighting to keep it tuition free. So that way we can serve as many as possible. But it's really just supported by the community and obviously, grants and sponsorships and things like that. But it's primarily, dominated and supported by the community.
Give the viewers an idea of the curriculum, the nuanced engagement, some of the unique opportunities that students at the SAVE Institute experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so we have, all of the regular academic subjects. However, we teach academics in a way that is much more practical, hands-on, that is relevant and related to real life. And then simultaneously, we incorporate these four elements that make up the acronym of SAVE. So SAVE stands for service, agriculture, vocational training, and entrepreneurship. So we're using these four elements for their experience every single day, using them as an opportunity for them to grow and develop.
You innovated this program. Okay, I'm sure that wasn't easy because there's one thing to have a business model for education, a private school. There's another thing to have a business model that says, and everybody who consumes it or everybody who attends will attend here for free. What was the barrier that you had to overcome in order to get stakeholders to the table, brother? Because I want your idea to catch on in other spaces. That's why I'm asking this.
Yeah, I mean, first there was a lot of questions like, why specifically Black boys? Why specifically Black male youth? Like, why don't you just say very broadly, at-risk youth, like many other organizations do? And I really had to take a stand and show people very clearly, like, this is the most vulnerable population in this nation, right? The Black male youth are at the top of the list for every negative statistic that there is, right? And it's really what I call a national crisis that nobody's talking about. So really, it's really been a matter of just making that very clear.
You have been championed, obviously, by many in the community, and your program is award-winning. You are a recipient of many awards yourself. And when I was at the event, the yearly event, I saw everybody from attorneys to Mama Dem. And it was just this great celebration of our youth and our youth being able to do some things in the marketplace and in college because that others aren't able to do because you provide a certification pathway while they're in high school. So explain that. So in addition to finishing high school, they can complete a certification in what?
Absolutely. So we make it very specific to what they want to do with themselves, right? We don't like put one specific path on them like many schools do. Like it's just like, all right, you going to college and that's it, or you're doing this and that's it. No, we help them to go through a process of discovering who they are, discovering their purpose and what they're meant to do, and then we help them to get on a path. So in addition to their academics and earning a high school diploma, they are able to get a certification in the career path of their choice. But we start off by just exposing them to a lot of different career paths, and then their senior year, they pick one they want to specialize in. They get certified. In addition to that, they're building their own businesses simultaneously. So they're graduating with a high school diploma, a LLC, certifications, and so many other things. Really, just preparing them for success.
And I got to tell you, our dear brother Atiba Jones is a very humble man, and he doesn't brag on the program. He just gives you the fact. But when you look at how intense the program is, how they embrace individual learning, how they encourage these students, and how he's able to pack out an event house like no other because the community supports him, you'll understand that this has been his lifelong work. So my request is that those who will see this, and you may have a similar idea, and you don't know where to start. Brother Jones, I know you got a lot going on, brother. But are you willing to consult with a person or two to help them develop this in another state?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need to take this all over the country. And so whatever we can do to spread the word and, save as many lives as possible, that's what we'll do.
We talk so much about negativity with the current state of where we are that I wanted to take time, especially during Black History Month, to highlight the reality of Black excellence and individuals who see a problem and then provide a solution like you. We appreciate your leadership. For those who are watching this and they would like to get more information or perhaps contact you, what's the best way to do that?
A website, which is thesaveinstitute.org.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate all you do, man. We'll catch up soon, all right?
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Remember, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.